Hi, welcome to day 2 of the Living the Fit Life webinar. I know that you're very excited to talk about food. Well, at least I am. And Thomas is going to be helping me today. So we all know that he is the chef in our house. He is the person who plans all our meals and makes all our meals and kind of coordinates all of that. And I give him all the credit for how healthy I eat, because if we were going to leave it up to me, it would look very different. So today we're talking about the 5th M. So if you watched my day 1 video yesterday, I had 5 M's that are the pillars of all my programs and what I teach my clients. So the 5th M is more good food. And this is something that we really live by, because I don't believe in starving myself in order to be fit. So we actually eat a ton of food. We eat a ton of great food, and I feel the best that I've ever felt. So really says a lot. Okay, this is Thomas. Ta-da!
Hi.
So this is actually very rare, because he probably never wants to come online with me. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetheart.
Appreciate it. All right, a little bit about our story when it comes to food. So Thomas definitely lives to eat, 100%. That's all he thinks about. That's all he talks about. Almost to the point where it's a bit much. I am one of those people where before I met him, I just ate to live. So very different. I would eat the same thing every day and I didn't really care. That would never fly.
No.
So we're going to share with you what we eat, what we've learned, and what's really important when it comes to going to the grocery store and deciding what you're going to buy and what that looks like. As we go, feel free to leave some comments in the chat. I do have a couple questions that I got on Instagram, so I will ask Thomas those later. But yeah, so as much as we want to look at macros and the type of food and what you're eating every day, a big part of it is quality. And we all know that quality of food does matter, and it's been declining in American
Absolutely.
Diet throughout the years. So we also are going to touch on how to navigate the grocery store to make that as efficient as possible. So I know Instacart does help. I know during COVID, we got really into Instacart only because
took a little arm twisting.
Yeah, Thomas loves to go to the store. So he's the kind of person who would go to the grocery store every single day. And I'm like, okay, you are buying way too much food and we don't need all this stuff in our house. So let's Instacart, because then we can just order what we need for the week, right? So that's been really helpful. But if you are the kind of person going to the store, say twice a week is a good compromise, maybe.
Negotiated compromise.
But yeah, twice a week. And I feel like that's great, because then we're only buying the stuff that we know that we need, right? So if you look at when you're going to be snacking and eating stuff that probably isn't so great for you, it's usually those times where you're just reaching in the cupboard and you're like, hey, I'm hungry, and there's Oreos there.
Mm-hmm.
The Oreos. Yeah.
So tell me more about these Oreos.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Oreos. So you want to be just aware of what you're buying and what you keep in the house, right? Okay. So when it comes to going to the grocery store, tell us how you navigate the store. So actually, before we get to the store, what do?
We make a list. We check it twice. And full caveat here, even though Addison tells everyone that I'm her private chef, I'm not a chef, I'm not a nutritionist. I just love food. As Natasha said, way too much. So for me, this is an exercise of love and of interest, but also, I feel better. So I eat to, try and keep our family healthy and growing and develop good habits for them over their lifetime.
Yeah, and I have to say, our kids are super healthy eaters, and we don't have to force them to eat well. So that's the nice thing, and they all eat a ton.
They do,
which is great.
They do. So the first thing that we do usually is we'll map out our food for the week. So we found it's very helpful to have a menu board and say, okay, what are we doing? And we take into account, because we're a normal family, what nights we have.
All the sports,
soccer and basketball and all the sports, and Natasha's working late. And so we're realistic about that. We're not turning out 4-course meals, 7 days a week. And we try and balance that. So once we have our board, and every night I try and do a dinner with a protein, a carbohydrate, and a vegetable or salad. So we have a nice balance. And then you can look at it and you end up, being able to map out and keep things a little bit fresh and different. So you're not, the kids aren't complaining that they've eaten the same thing, 3 nights in a row.
Yeah. And the nice thing that I like about writing it all out is that we seriously go down the list and we're like, okay, fish, meat, whatever, like filling in all the proteins, and then you fill in your vegetables, and then you fill in your carb, and that's all your dinners for the week. The nice thing too is that we usually make extra. So that's what I end up eating for lunch. I know lunches are a huge pain point for a lot of my clients,
Exactly.
Especially if you're out working or even if you're at home all day, just having stuff already prepared for lunch makes a huge difference. So I'm sure you've seen that I've transitioned to working from home 3 days a week, and Thomas stopped making my lunch.
Like for 2 days.
So yes, I did not have a lunch made for me for 2 days. And instead of eating like my very typical normal healthy lunch, I had half a croissant and like a handful of blueberries.
Yeah.
And
it was not pretty.
Oh, I had Addison's leftover sandwich.
Yes, you did. You made Addison's leftover egg sandwich, yes.
Yeah. So moral of the story, like having stuff prepared that's ready to go. Because when I run in here between clients, I can grab my lunch out of the fridge and I know that I'm going to be eating well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what we do before we get to the store. And then once we actually get to the store, by we, I mean Thomas. Who are we kidding? All right. So we get to the store. How do you navigate the store? Because this is important.
Well, mostly we eat, and I know that this sounds cliche, but we eat from the outside of the store, right? So we look at, we're fortunate enough that we get a farm box. So we have a local farm box delivered. So I try and think about not duplicating that, but you're getting fruits, you're getting things for planting salads, roasted vegetables, things like that. And then I'll go through the proteins. And honestly, I know I get to know the butchers and the people that are selling the fish and things. And so, you talk to them and you can say, okay, what do you have? What's on special? What's looking fresh? And developing that relationship, just chatting for a few minutes too, they're steering you towards things that are fitting within your grocery budget as well, which Natasha actually has me on a grocery budget. So who knew it?
Yeah.
It's
been a big difference.
It's been a big difference. And then, as you're looking at things that are more, that you have on the shelf or in the pantry, really being aware of the labels. Right?
Yes.
So looking, especially, for me, the thing I look for more than anything else are hidden sugars, right? So ignoring words like natural or healthy and really, looking in and saying, okay, how many servings are in this, right? Because that's a great trick where you say, oh, the sugar, isn't that bad in this. And then you look and realize there's, it's for 5 servings,
right.
Per 5 servings. So those are things I think you want to try and be aware of.
What are the top hidden sugar culprits?
They'll list things separately, like they'll list added fruits. They'll list, you want to stay away from refined sugars like corn syrup. And those are things that add up. So the sugar line might be one number, but then you have to look at the other ingredients that are in there.
One of the ones that surprised me was yogurt. So I used to always buy just your, Greek yogurt with fruit in it, until Thomas pointed out it has just as much sugar as a chocolate bar.
Yeah, there's a chocolate bar, right?
So yeah, now we're a little bit more. So I'll do plain yogurt and put some honey, local honey on it. And that's a far better compromise on the sugar aspect, right?
Much better breads, things like that.
Yes,
so
bread has a lot of sugar.
Bread has a lot of sugar. And so the thing too is that, we don't want to have we want food to be fun. I like food. You want people excited to eat. So, I do buy bread. I do buy ice cream. We do have
we don't
dessert,
cut a whole,
right?
we don't really cut anything out. Yeah.
But what you're looking for is the less processed the food, the better it's going to be. So if you're buying bread, if you can buy, the least possible processed bread that you can, like a fresh baguette or something like that. The same thing with ice cream, the same thing with snacks.
Yeah.
You just want to stay as much on the clean side and healthy side as possible.
Yeah. So really, we do, produce department and then meat and fish. And then what about deli? So what, like, we still buy cheese. We eat cheese.
No, we eat cheese,
Yeah.
and you're looking again for less processed. You want
It's like deli meat. That's another
Right,
one
and
that I'm never sure about.
deli meat. The concern with deli meat is that it's highly processed. So I'm looking for uncured and more organic if I can get that, because there's a lot of really nasty things that go on when they're preserving lunch meats.
Yeah.
And you want to avoid that, right? So when you read the studies of, people who eat processed meat or people who eat bacon, have this increased incidence of heart problems and things like that. A lot of that is the process that those meats go through. And so if you're looking for, uncured or naturally cured things like that, those can be better for you. But again, we're not eating bacon
every day,
8 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. And like getting it sliced fresh, like a lot, sometimes we'll go to the counter, and that seems to be a little bit better. Yeah.
The other thing I think people will sometimes, it's a little bit counterintuitive, but things like frozen fruits and vegetables can actually be really good and really healthy for you. And many times economic as well.
And I know one of the questions that we got on Instagram is, if you're shopping on a budget, like most people are, how do you choose? Because organic grass-fed New York strip steaks are going to cost you a fortune, right? So if you can't afford that, what kind of cuts of meat and stuff should you look for instead that are still going to be clean and good?
Of course. And I think there's a couple things. You want to try and eat the cleanest proteins possible, right? Because you are what you eats. So that definitely comes through and it impacts your longer term health. But what I've always done is think more like a European. And what do I mean by that? If you look at European cuisine, French cuisine, Spanish cuisine, Italian cuisine, these fresh, healthy cuisines, a lot of that was originally built from the offcuts. Right. So it was normal people cooking in their kitchen who couldn't afford, or it wasn't available, the top cuts. So is it great to have a good steak? Absolutely. Right. But can you do a lot of really interesting, creative things with offcuts? And yes, right. The flap steaks, skirt steaks, lamb shoulders, pork shoulders, things like that. And the nice thing about those cuts is that they're fairly easy to cook, because a lot of them you're stewing or you're braising, and it's
the Instapot.
You put it in, you set it, you let it go. There's leftovers. It's healthy, and so I'd rather have a higher quality offcut, right, than a lower quality steak, for example.
Right.
So, and the other thing too that I find when we're looking at our week and we see how busy we are is, I think it's okay to mix and match as well. Yeah. So if we know we're having a busy night, we might, I might pick up a roast chicken and a good loaf of bread, and then do a big salad.
Right.
Or we have a local shop that does these great breaded chicken cutlets, right?
Yeah.
So we'll pick those up. They're healthy, they're good, and then blend that with some other things. So you don't have to go all takeout or all home cooked. You can really find that balance and make it work for you.
And that's what I find saves us the most time, is if we're buying our protein already cooked, it's super easy to whip up some salad or rice or whatever. We have a rice cooker, so you turn the rice cooker on, the rice is ready. It's not very labor intensive. So that makes the weekday dinners much easier. So the inner aisles, I would say, and I'm I know we buy, we're human. We obviously still buy stuff from the inner aisles of the store, but we spend very little time. Even when I do the groceries, I kind of have my list. I'm okay, I need oil, some spices, stuff like that. And I just go to that aisle and that's it. So I find that if I'm walking through the snack aisle, I'm far more tempted to pick up chips or popcorn or some juice or stuff like that. Once again, things juice is just straight sugar. So we just don't buy it. We don't buy that kind of stuff, because I know if we have it in the house, we're going to end up eating it.
Yeah. And that's, absolutely.
And our kids, it's not like they are so deprived.
No. And look,
they get snacks. They
get snacks. We have fun things for them to eat, but they also are aware of it. And, they feel better, right? Because if you're eating too much sugar, you get hooked in that sugar cycle where it spikes, and then you start to crash, you get the insulin response, you start to crash, and then your body's craving that again because you get addicted to it. And so it's very hard to break that. You get the carb flu for 2 weeks when you try and break that cycle, and it's very hard to do.
Well, and things like even just pointing out to the kids like, hey, you have a canker sore, that could be because of all what you ate last week, or you had high sugar drinks or stuff like that. So just like making them more aware of how what you eat can affect more than just, it's not about weight, right? It's about feeling well and functioning well.
Well, and especially I think for your clients that are working out hard, you have to fuel performance, because if you're not putting enough in your body, then your body just, it malfunctions, and you're, trying to hold on to fat, and you're not metabolizing things correctly because your body's in such a state of chaos. So,
and I think for a lot of people, and I know myself included, is in the past, it was all about calories. So the less calories I ate, the better. And that's how I thought healthy eating was. And I know I've used this example before, but I used to work at a restaurant, and I would eat a baked potato and broccoli for dinner because I had no calories, with no butter, nothing on it. It was disgusting, right? But I was going to CrossFit 5 days a week. So like, how is that sustainable? It's not, obviously. And so that works against you. So now, like, I know on a day where I'm strength training and I'm exerting myself, that's a day where I really try to up my calorie count. I might even add another meal in the afternoon so that I know that I'm eating enough, right? And then the other thing too is just some ideas on how to repurpose your dinner food for lunches. Because I know, like I said, lunches are a big struggle for a lot of people. So how can you make it so you're not just like for example, like if we make a roast chicken, what does that look like for lunch the next day? You make all the lunches, so go ahead.
Okay. I'm guilty of actually kind of running a short order operation here for the kids.
Okay, so actually, let's preface this with, if it were me, I used to make all the lunches at night. So I would actually make dinner. I would pack my lunch and Addison's lunch and get everything ready for the next day. And that was it. So clean up the kitchen, I'm all done. Now, for this one, who gets up at 4 a.m, which I don't know. I just don't get it. What do you do?
Well, I think if you take the example of like a roast chicken, and always when I'm buying the meat or fish or whatever it is, I'm thinking ahead and saying, okay, how much do we need? I know what I need portion wise for dinner. How does that look the next day for lunch as well? So am I buying a little bit more? And then I might make a chicken salad. I might just slice it into a wrap. I might make a sandwich out of it. If we're doing chicken legs or something, then you can just kind of put those right in the lunchbox. And, just generally.
Yeah, I feel like we eat, we're not eating the same thing all the time.
No.
We eat a really nice variety. But on the other hand, we actually don't eat anything particularly fancy. Like, I know I joke and say Thomas is a chef, but most of the time, if you saw on Instagram, tonight we had salmon, roasted potatoes, and some Brussels sprouts, which that all just goes in the oven. That's not particularly labor intensive.
Well, the salmon.
You cooked the salmon. That was very good. Good job. I would put the salmon.
But I set, even though I love to cook, I set a 1 hour from the minute I walk into the kitchen to the minute we sit down. Dinners never take more than an hour to cook, and I'm still doing 3 different things while I'm cooking. Right. So it's not.
No, it's not.
You can make it short. And then on the weekends, sometimes I'll do a big kind of labor intensive dinner because that's what I like to do. So
the other thing I wanted to mention too is just some really good resources for planning out your dinners and getting ideas, because a lot of people just don't really know how to cook, and that's okay. Right. But if you can follow a recipe, it's awesome, right? It's always good to try new things. So there's some great apps that you can actually plan out your week. So it gives you a whole library of recipes. You drag and drop what you want for the week, and it will spit out a whole grocery list for you of exactly what you need with the really easy to follow steps. So stuff like that is super helpful. Also TikTok. I know this one spends so much. You don't spend that much time on TikTok. So for being a ghost online, he consumes more social media than anybody I know. Myself. Yes. But you can find a lot of really, really great tutorials on how to change up how you make your potatoes or whatever, right? Or lunches for your kids or whatever. So I hope that kind of clarified a few things when it comes to food. So grocery shopping should not be stressful. It should not be like this huge burden. You can take 10 minutes at the beginning of the week to write out what you're going to eat for the week and use that as a guide for going to the grocery store. And that's going to make your life so much simpler, can help you eat healthier, help you fuel your body well, and ultimately just create habits that are going to stick with you for the long run. So the less things that you mentally have to give your time to every day, the more likely you are to continue those habits. So
exactly.
All right, so tomorrow is day 3, and that is when we're talking about metabolism. So all the things that I mentioned yesterday when it comes to hormones and weight loss and everything else, stress and how that affects fat loss. So definitely tune in for that. I think it will be a very interesting topic, and thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Yes. Okay. Bye, guys.
I feel like we hit all